Okay, so today is going to be another day of basically my shaman thing, but like last time I introduced a sub-series of, okay, I'll try the twist mode, and so if I lose with the shaman gimmick deck that I'm doing, then I'll play as the twist thing, and I can only play as each twist one once, or until I lose one. So I played as only the demon hunter last time, so I lost, so now I can't use that one again. And this one seems pretty fun because you get to basically appreciate the sort of pre-made deck nature of it, which I like that a little better than some of the arbitrary criteria. And of course I don't have that many that I actually can use, but I'll start with the shaman, and then if I lose I'll do another one. We can start with Alec here. I played against like Cthulhu, and I was kind of triggered by the fact that he had like 100 health or something that nobody else has. Like what is it, not that I couldn't use him myself, in fact I even have him 80 health, and nobody else even has like close to that, or like 60. So doesn't mean he's overpowered, but at least it felt kind of a little bit weird, and I don't know why he gets that goddamn much. Right, even lore-wise, it's not like Cthulhu is a fucking tank. He's a weakened old god as it is. So, you know, he's in a weakened state. I don't know why, you know, that would suit him so much, but... And you even get, like, the hero avatar that's, like, the one you typically have to buy, or the one that I was using as Druid that's, like, the... You know, the zoomed-in eyeball, and I was noticing all these things about it that I didn't normally notice when I was using it, because maybe I don't pay attention to mine as much, or my mic kind of strategically blocks it. So whatever, I didn't enjoy that Demon Hunter deck that much anyway, but let's go ahead and do this. I feel like I've used this title before too, but I'm usually pretty good about not doing that. Like where I don't really reuse titles, especially with chess, because I have like a million different ones that I've had to use over time. But some like evolved joke, just maybe the one where I actually improved my deck and was adding stuff to it. So it's pretty much set. In fact, I added one card that doesn't fit within my criteria, which like summons three, maybe we'll even see it here. It summons like 3, 5, 6s or whatever, but it doesn't say summon a copy, or it doesn't say transform. Those are the two conditions of this deck. Every card has to say transform or summon a copy. Now that one technically I'll count anyway, because it's just like, you know, it's like, it's not this one. It summons, whatever, I'll count it. It summons like 3 different things, but it doesn't say a copy of something already, or even of itself, right? Serenite Chain Gang, and then there's the same one that has like, that's a very raw definition of power creep. You just recycle the same card, but oh, it's a slightly better version that just does the same thing, but it also gets the overdraw effect, or whatever it's called, I forget. When you draw it, quick draw, if you just play it, it does it, and then it does it again, so it'll make 3 copies instead of 2. And of course I don't need any excuse to use the elusive thing here, but it technically is, because it makes a copy of itself. So we're fitting into the theme here pretty hard. Again, not saying it's a good deck idea, but you know, it is one of my favorite mechanics in the history of the game, even though it officially doesn't have a keyword, but you know what I mean when I say evolve, obviously. When will this text evolve into saying not that, you know, transform into ones that cost 1 more? Why not just say evolve with the brackets that says 1 or whatever number? A lot of these are older. Oh yeah, this is the one. Summon 3, 5, 6s with taunt. Again, technically, and it's in there, you know why? Partly because I wanted a 10 cost card to corrupt that stupid ass clown, and the reason why is because, you know, that's the only 10 cost card I'm going to have or that fits. So within that criteria, I'll make the one exception. The principle is still like you're summoning a copy of something or multiple things, but it technically breaks the rule a little bit. But it's not like it's such a great card anyway. It's okay, but by today's standards, it's kind of subpar. Transform 1 into one that costs 2 more. Normally, I would be going to do that, or I obviously should have waited, because of the simple fact that now the upgraded cost and stuff can sometimes help you, right? Because it'll, or actually I forget how that works. If I pay more for it, but when it goes down on the board, will the evolution actually be for that? Like, I don't know. It doesn't say it transform it into from its original cost. That's actually kind of a meaningful interaction to look at. Like I can do this, and will I get a 5 cost or a 3 cost? I'm just so curious that I'll sort of subvert everything else. You only get a 3 cost. Okay, so it doesn't count that. I would always do that weird interaction with Alana, the Dragon Keeper chick, for the 9 cost, who summons a 5/5 for every 5 cost card you played. every 5 cost spell and up you played, and I would deliberately make my spells cost more to get more of those interactions in that anti-spell mage deck. So I'd play like the Nerubian Unraveler, and then if I played some spell that would normally cost 4, like a Fireball, now it'll cost 6. So that actually did count towards Alana's counter. You could devolve his stupid ass, I guess. Again, you're gonna lose all the buffs and everything. Although that 4-1 is still pretty good. You'll get your weapon here. You got the Serenite Chain Yang. You don't really even need like super high cost stuff sometimes to make this worthwhile, but of course the decks people are using are not very good either, but that's, you know, the standard that we have here. Is like it shouldn't need to be really that good, and of course these people are clearly bots. Not that that's even a bad play, just try to get the damage in while you can. My deck obviously doesn't have healing, but you kind of mainly, I'll just rely on taunts. And I wouldn't want to give up the... I wouldn't want to give up the taunts, even if I said, oh, I want to upgrade that. I was watching it while you were... I was watching YouTube while you're AFK and forgot about the stream. And no, oh, you don't stream? Yeah, stream yourself reacting to YouTube videos like you're XQC or something. And you'll get millions of dollars and millions of views because watch the whole season of MasterChef and show the whole thing because you're just immune to copyright. His first stream on Kick, he tries to watch fucking The Dark Knight or something. Like, oh no, I didn't know you couldn't do that. Like, what the fuck? We paid $100 million for this because they gave him like $100 million non-exclusive deal. Okay, now I'm pretty much dead because you rely so heavily on minions. Or actually, this will save my dumb ass. This is where you just completely rely on the taunts or maybe some effect that you're going to get. That's what it sort of turned into. It's such a, not saying it wasn't always that to some extent, but it's turned into like such a lowest common denominator thing where people just do any random thing. I'm driving to work, so I'll just record myself and stream it, or I'm just going shopping, so let's do an IRL stream. Like, nobody wants to necessarily see that shit, but I guess sometimes they do. At least there should be some pretense of what you're doing is like impressive or noteworthy, like, you know, okay, Hikaru playing chess, even if he's salty about losing or something, that can be entertaining to people. But at least he's doing something, you know, noteworthy there. It'll be instructive without him even needing to try. But he pretty much loses now because the board is just so clear. But I wish I could do that, but this isn't hexproof from Magic the Gathering, of course. You don't have enough shit out here to actually do anything. You can do this, and I hate losing the taunt, but this is going to be something that costs 3 more, which might just be the 11 cost. Or I forget that this even is 11 cost. Like, I was thinking it's that snow giant or whatever that we see so often. Rush Reborn costs 1 less for each plague shuffled. Okay, that's not obviously relevant. I swear I don't remember this costing actually 11, but I guess it typically wouldn't. Because you'd always be using it with some synergy, but then again, I haven't really used it anyway. Just whenever I've seen it, I didn't think of it like that. Transform into legendary minions, which again, aren't necessarily going to be better than what I even have. Or even this is pretty cute, just you go all in like that, you hit him in the face. I'm sort of playing into the traps a little bit, but I almost don't give a shit, especially when you get to what would even happen if I did this. Wait, now you get the mountain giant, you get the fucking grave horror, another mountain giant. You're not gonna have that much variety when you know, get up to these higher levels. In fact, I even looked through everything that's like over 10 cost. So there's like a 10, 11, 12, 13, but there's no 14. And then there's some that are much higher, like 17, 18, 19 or whatever. But I think 14 is where it stops. Yeah, this is the kind of sexy board that you work for, and I was still pretty close to dying. Yeah, this card isn't even good when it comes. Or you know what I could try to do is my little BM thing, where I get to play every sort of transform interaction that I have before I win. But if I lose, then I'll be very unhappy with it. Now you're getting level 13, and now it's going to just start to be the same thing, right? 13 is going to be maybe the limit. I'm not doing it to BM, even what is potentially a bot. I'm doing it to actually say, okay, I can only win if I play every transform interaction that I have. Not so much this, I wouldn't have to do that, but I would have to do this until it's gone. I would have to do this, I would have to do this the same turn. Right, that's at least an extra win condition when it's too easy, as if I should really have to do that. Doppelgangster as well would be something. But that would have been annoying to even try to do, because you get to... So some of these are going to be boring, where it's just the same shit over and over, but it's fun to see what these keep. Just so much fucking variety of stuff to see. You can do the legendaries, you don't have to do that. This is just too expensive of a play. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to do anything with it, like evolve. You know what I'd be interested to see is how much those actually cost. Or one of these is gonna somehow hurt my dumbass too. Now this should actually work, because now you can finish it because you'll get the evolve interaction as you do it, right? So we get to see the final board for what it is. And so I did meet my condition, because these don't actually have to do with evolving. So not only did I win, but I won in style with that. I'm not gonna say I always have to do that. Like if I'm gonna lose, I won't, you know, if it's the difference between winning and losing. But at least that's a fun extra condition, which would be good to do if this deck was actually good. But it's also so bad that that guy was just a clown bot whatever deck. It's not even that I don't want to play. You know what I don't get is there's that twist shop thing, right? Like, oh, buy the twist pack. What would be in the twist pack if not just all these different characters, you know, that would be needed to unlock the deck? For the most part, it doesn't matter, because, you know, normally they're sucking you into paying $20 per month just for a different twist mode that you can only play for that month, and you might never be able to play again. But even here, that doesn't make sense, because the decks are already pre-made. But they'll still try to fucking get you on a microtransaction, just, you know, get Cthulhu and get all these different cards that you would need to have to be able to unlock the deck, which at least that's a lot easier to do. But it is such a jip. Like, who would do that, even if you are super into it? But, you know, I would have some of this shit already just because there's the bot verification. I would still do it because I would have some of these decks already. Like, oh, let's try to make a deck with only minions or only spells or whatever. These are things that, gimmicks that I might have tried anyway. So I'd be the one dude who was playing a twist deck before twist was even a thing. Like how I sometimes said in WoW, I was an achievement hunter before achievement hunting existed. Or I would try to fill out like all the spaces of the map and everything, not because I was getting an achievement for it, but just because that is in itself an achievement. Like just being a completionist and trying to fill out every area of every section of the map, of, you know, every zone. So let's see, this one is kind of fun, but I don't like how it all as in your opponents. Why not just all of yours? This is a modern power creep card, so it shouldn't have any downside to it. This is sometimes worth it just to try to keep with the pace of the game, or I should have at least attacked in doing that. The weakest link of this deck is the fact that you start off so slow, and the reason why you do is because there's no like 2 or 3 cost cards that have evolve effects or copy effects in the name, you know, in the description. So Terranite Chain Gang is going to be 4, and most of these are going to be 3 or 4. So if returns 1 and 2, you're literally sitting there waiting for totems to try to evolve, right, and hope that they stick, because it's just so hard to get any of these interactions off. And of course, when these bot clowns ignore what I'm doing, it becomes much more relevant. Right, like if they had any sort of fucking brains, they would just trade into what I'm doing, clearly. If you knew that's what you're trying to do, because that's the only lose condition. If they have a lot of AoE or something, or if they have actually a good deck, imagine that. But no, like if they have AoE and keep the board clear all the time, then I don't have anything to evolve and I can burn out of minions very easily. Even though these copy effects and stuff are nice, if I run out, I'm just screwed. Even the Faceless Manipulator doesn't seem like that good of a, you know, that thematic of something to have here, but I wouldn't want to do that. And the reason why is because let's just do these two, I guess. Just trying to get as many things out there as possible, which is very hard to do. Or obviously there's that classic interaction like Doppelgangster plus Evolve for only 6, which is, you know, going back to when you originally played it, that actually was pretty good. Even by today's standards, it's not that bad. Or I guess it plays into power creep a little bit because the stuff you can get from Evolve is itself potentially something newer and therefore better for that reason. But it's not the base mechanic that's good, right? Like transform a 4 cost into a 5 cost. That's kind of antiquated and bad by today's standards. But if the 5 cost you get happens to be something newer, it could turn out good. Or if you get exactly the right effects or something, you benefit from like, oh, it's normally you lose the 6 health, but because the battle cry doesn't trigger, now it, you know, means more. This is cute to do. This would also be fine, but the problem with it is that I would end up just basically trading everything in anyway, so I should just go full trade because, or maybe I messed up something there, but I should just go full trade mode because board control is the most important thing here, even to the point of me trying to use this. So I'd have to clear their side just to stop them from getting potentially good legendary. But there is always that bait with the legendary type stuff. Even with that other cost card I just used, the 6 cost card, like you could have a decent board, so not in this case, but if I have like a bunch of 8 8s and 10 10s or whatever, right, you'll do this like, oh look, I get a legendary, but that could actually be worse because there's plenty of low cost legendary, so you're not always going to get full value from it anyway. I'm not a big fan of this, but maybe, what does this do? First time you cast a spell, let's try not to do that so we can actually get an evolve effect off. I haven't been getting this one really at the right time. You got to get it like super early and then start using it on the fucking totems. That mechanic's been sort of underutilized too since they came out with these, right? Like how many new ones have they come out with since the original set? Like even with the stupid imp one that I use so much, it feels like they just kind of forgot about it, or they felt like it was kind of a cancer mechanic, so they just stopped doing it. Or it almost seemed like they were trying to phase out the hero cards, like let them all go out of the rotation of the standard and then stop making any new ones. But then just when I'm thinking that, they do the Death Knight one. Get in there and fight, maggot. Right, they give Death Knights their first one with the Headless Horseman thing, so I guess it's not the case. So here we'll BM them again. So these decks are almost a little bit too bad for me to even believe, but I'll still do what I gotta do. So what would I have to do? I'd have to do a lot. That one's technically not an evolved mechanic, and so you don't want to do that yet. This is actually going to take a while, but let me just try to trade everything in first. Go phase, phase. And 3 1/1s. I don't want to fuck with that right now. So let's go, or I mean I will do it anyway, and then if I'm not satisfied with it, I can always re-roll one of them, or at least like I want one taunt. But he's an 8 cost, 4 cost, a couple good 9 cost taunts you can get, like Sleepy Dragon or some shit. Attack 3 random different minions. That's still pretty cute. Some of these effects end up being pretty fun. Jukebox Totem. Why would a totem be a Silver Hand recruit? That's the ultimate unholy alliance with the two classes that were originally Horde and Alliance specific, which I almost would have thought it would be Warlock and Paladin, right? Because that feels like antithetically opposed. So like the Horde represent some of that, whatever. Like they're the bad guys, even though they're not really bad, right? That's just kind of the vibe that he gave you. So everybody felt like they were so cool doing that, playing as the Horde. This is. Every third minion you play each turn costs 0.
Unshackle me.
Um.
Unshackle me.
Every time it survives damage, I'm gonna copy. I can just do the stupid ass weapon thing here. So I'm putting myself at a little bit of risk here, but at least I get to. As long as you always get these taunts, I'm pretty happy with it. Or I could do another one like with all these random spell type effects and build it around Yogg, but whether you want to do that as a shaman or not, I don't know. But maybe something with Haggith the Witch is like a fun synergy because you keep getting like an infinite number of spells. What was the effect again? Like every time you summon a minion, you get a spell, or maybe vice versa. Every time you play a spell, you get a minion. Summon the beast from your deck and give a rush. If he kills a minion, repeat. So this we don't need to play. This we do need to play. Like these two basically we need to play. If I just clear their board, then I'll just do it. And then I can potentially finish them off. Or I should get them at least super low within striking distance. Just... Again, health values almost don't even matter because you get to... Oh yeah, I would have to do this shit too. Let's just do everything that I can, transform into legendaries. Again, the costing doesn't even really matter at that point. But this board ends up being worse on average because there's too many legendaries. I love them all talking shit at the same time too, competing with the music, competing with my voice and commentary. They just, you want to do this one and you want to do this one. And then that would be your win condition, but I still want to see... We're literally getting off on BMing bots over here. That's a good thing. They won't resign, so I have to at least meet my condition, and it's still a fun interaction that we're seeing.
The storm is in me.
So I want to trade something off just so I can do the Faceless Manipulator. Then I can spam the Echo thing. Doesn't really matter what it's going to be. Let's just do it for everybody. Some of these interactions end up taking too long, even. Now, this is a fucking bad value on cost health instead of mana. But it's a 2-2. Like, what do you mean, dude? That's still fucking shit no matter what. 8-8. Can't do anything with these. Storm Giant. So now, for example, we could win the game right now. If I don't get another evolve card, right, then I'm not obligated to wait to play it. So I'll just evolve something and just hit you in the face. Unless I draw one, but that's the problem. If I draw one, then I can't, and then I play it, then nothing's going to have charge, typically. So then I have to wait another turn because I can't finish you off then. You'd have to get one of the very few charges in the game. Reduce the cost of random beasts in your hand by 5. So that's at least something that we get to, or I could have tried to finish it off with that effect. Like a better version of Ragnaros, 9-9 Ragnaros. Right, some of that card design I really don't like because it's like the exact same effect. We could just make an 7-7 Ragnaros that does the same thing, that does 7 damage, or a 10-10, you know. It ends up just being so on the nose. Or what was previously a legendary is now just considered like a normal card, so it won't be like a special rarity for that effect. But no, give us what feels like an actual player, by which I mean I'm gonna get my ass beat, and then I'll just feel like I'm fucking, you know, want to play the twist thing, which I'll only do like with one life's worth thing here. So I'll play as Alec here till I lose, but only if I lose this. Which maybe you think I should just even wait doing this, but this is still the month that I want to do Shaman. So maybe next month, or maybe somewhere in the middle of next month, I will move on to what should be Paladin, and then after that should be Mage, then after that, we have Rogue, Death Knight, Demon Hunter left. And whether I do gimmick decks with that or actually try to make something meta, I don't know. Because with Demon Hunter and Death Knight especially, I didn't experience anything really. Or I guess even Rogue, but at least Rogue you could use some old school meta decks. Or old school fun kind of things. That's how you know they're a bot more than anything. Like, why would it take that long for you to make that move? Like, that's really strategic, bro. But you can still get overwhelmed and lose on the board here if you just fuck around for too long. So, oh yeah, there we go. So now if I did that plus the other thing, you would get a board full of 9 costs and then turn into 10 costs. So you play this plus evolve in the same turn, right? And that's fucking brilliant. A better version of Harik. Not that you could use Harik anyway, because you'd have to be a warlock, but I somehow got it in my hand and was able to play it, and I was so excited, like, oh, this is the perfect evolve interaction, but you know, that cheapens it so much. This is like one of those nightmare fucking arena cards if you somehow were to not only get it, but get the interaction with it. We'll do that for now, but you can easily kill at least one of them. Yeah, the shortness of the twist mode is weird. The cooldown time where they just have it empty and unplayable is kind of weird. The fact that you have to, you know, that they try to sell you things for it is also kind of weird. But generally, at least I like the idea behind it. It's almost just like an extension of Tavern Brawl, but just where you have the rule set for the whole month. But it's a good idea, and I especially like the idea of a rotating format. Like, instead of just classic, it'll be... Instead of classic, it'll just be a case where... We can do this, and we can also evolve it. I'll just do it because I'm kind of at a weird spot where I'm not really too happy with my board, and I'm not getting anything to stick. That's the most important thing. You have to maintain board control, and you have to get all your stuff to stick as long as possible, and have as many things out there as possible. Because if you do that, then obviously you'll have more targets to potentially evolve, which... Even just for the fun factor here, I would be interested less than the quality of it. I'm not a big fan of the devolve effects either, right? The stuff that affects them, but we could just do rag. I mean, we could trade in a couple of these. Trade in this. Whack one of those, you speak of Ragnaros and he shall appear, even though that's a guaranteed effect anyway. But the last game I was just clowning him because that one Drake does better. You know, 9 mana 9/9 that does 9 to anything. Okay. Yeah, why not just announce the fact that you're something of a bot yourself? They always are programmed just to go fucking face, or even that was fucking stupid. But either it is a bot or it's just a very, very dumb player.
Watch out!
Kind of happy with Rag. In fact, I'm very happy with that. 6 mana, 4/7 taunt. Let's do it for the sake of it, so we're getting somewhere with this at least. I like how they can bypass stealth and stuff too. Yeah, it looks like we'll just get to gold rank fucking diamond with just this. I'm just not capable of losing one, even though I got super low in like the first one. Okay, you can do that. You can do still only 7 though. What if I just do this and then everything into a Murloc? I kind of don't even want to fuck with this too much, but I guess I'll just do it anyway. So you can see what I get. And that was kind of decent, I guess. But nobody can replace the value of Rag. Yeah, maybe that's the mechanic they almost pseudo forgot about too. Was the actual what do you call it? Alright, now I'm gonna force myself to do that same like BM condition. Here, maybe I'll do a short session in the morning. I'm kind of even too tired to fucking do this. I'll just do a couple more before I do magic. But let's just finish this clown off. By which I mean I have to meet all my elaborate conditions for doing this. Right, so now that's so beautiful because now we get the de facto heal even here. Oh shit, I didn't even have to do that. Yeah, that's going to be an 11 cost one that you see consistently, not unlike the Snow Peak Giant or whatever the fuck. Right, I'm pretty positive at least that's 11. Or like Molten Giant, you would get around 20, but... Okay, hurry up. I'm still gonna do my little BM checklist, which I think I did in every game so far today. And the only reason why they let you is because they're bots, because... whatever. Okay, what else do we gotta do here? You can do this. I could just do this as raw play. Even though you still get 3 of them, so that's like a better version of Doppelgangster. Of course, it costs a lot more too. But you could just do that and immediately do Evolve for 3 of them, but to fill your whole board with it is just fucking nasty. I don't think I've done that myself yet. Or at least not in this segment, like in this deck that I'm doing. I've probably played in a fucking arena or something. But with the effect, it's pretty fucking rare. We'd have to turn everything into an actual Murloc itself. And one of them could have charge, and so therefore you get to... $4.12. Whenever your hero takes damage, someone 6/6 another Drake.
Man. Now that takes me back.
Okay, so what would be the win condition now? You just have to... That's not it. That's not it. It just has to be something transformative.
Now that takes me back.
Holy shit, I shouldn't do those fucking chess sessions with what little time I have now. I'm even more tired than usual, so when I finally have time, right, that fucks me over. So I can just win this one if this clown... Okay, you do this, or just trade in first. And then you do like this effect, let's say. And so now maybe next turn you can finally do it. But now it's gonna be like fucking... You just get the wrong thing. Come on, bro. Ever seen somebody half asleep play Hearthstone and Hearthstone. All right, it's 2024, because everybody is half asleep because the game's so boring. But it doesn't have to be, because you obviously, people say that with anything like the stale meta nature. Like, the meta is only stale as you make it. You don't have to play it using meta decks or whatever. Alright, so maybe I'll do a short little session in the morning too. See you tomorrow. Okay, so since I did such a short session yesterday, let me actually just continue, and I'm going to assume that I had won every game as the Shaman one, so I wanted to at least get to a twist deck, but if I go on just a crazy win streak with this, I guess it's fine. Maybe it's, I can always come up with all these theories, like it's the hardest at the beginning of the month where you're playing against actual meta tryhards and legends or whatever, right? Like people who are going to get to legend rank later on who just aren't there yet. But since it doesn't even show you the rank of people you're playing, I don't know how accurate that is. It might just match you against anybody, you know. You could be a bronze rank 10, but you're getting matched against an actual legend player. But maybe the middle of the month is most likely to play against bots or actual bad low rated players, because at the beginning, people who end up being legend are going to be playing at the low rank too, and at the end of the month maybe people are making a hurry to try to, you know, try hard to try to get up there as well. So maybe the middle of the month is both the best and the worst. It's the worst because you'll go against these bad decks and kind of feel you know, like it's unsatisfying, but even though obviously what I'm using is typically always a bad deck anyway, but no, this one has always done generally better than a lot of them. Or at least this maybe the newer iteration of it that I did here. Right, this is about as fun or much as I could add to it. I don't know what more I can do to fit within the theme. Right, the one interaction I kind of want to see is that stupid clown. I want to see, I want to play the 10 cost thing that summons like 3, 5, 6s. Then it corrupts the clown. Then the clown summons a copy of itself all along the board. And then you evolve that. And you can even do it in the same turn for 10, right? Because it costs 9. That is such a fun interaction that actually I haven't seen yet. But imagine getting that in like a fucking arena, or even just the clown alone in an arena. And that's a pretty old card. It was like from 2020 or something. So imagine playing that in an arena game and how fucking busted it would be. So we may as well just commit to this for the simple fact that, you know, you just kind of need something out there. So the one big weakness that we keep seeing with this deck is obviously the fact that the early game is really, really weak, which is why I would make it even a desperate play like that, where you're sort of relying even on the totems. Yeah, this gimmick little thing is at least past the halfway point, so I only have a few more classes left to do, and I'm really debating what I want to do with the Death Knight, Demon Hunter, and Rogue, because those I could either use fun gimmicks from the past, or I could try to actually do something meta with them. I'll have to decide. You know what I did with the Demon Hunter that was actually weird is I did yeah, this would be good actually. I did this thing like a stealth deck. I used like every single stealth minion in the history of the game, which really has nothing to do with being a Demon Hunter, right? Like it was just my own extrapolation or something, and it was just like every stealth minion in the game, and just it happened to be, you know, at that time there weren't even as many maybe as there are now, but that would almost make more sense as a rogue, but it kind of doesn't make sense either because it still doesn't have any real synergy to it. It's just you're just doing it for the sake of it. You could do you could do 3 evolutions here, right? But doesn't mean that they'll really be good. Let's just hit you in the face, do the evolve first and then do it again. These are kind of weak plays still, but battle cry, blah blah blah, 1-5. I don't fucking know, dude. I'll just do it for the weird standing. Yeah, how many of my decks that I've done have been so predicated on random effects? Like for Hunter, oh, I love the effect of Rexar creating the zombies, and so it's at least partially random. Explore on Goro is partial, you know, is random. Zinazari, Renounced Darkness, all these mechanics actually are random. So as much as I sometimes condemn that sort of internal RNG in a card game being a bad thing, I also acknowledge that it can be super fun, or somehow this game manages to do that. Of course, these haven't been very competitive matchups, but no, I'll go for a couple games at least until I lose. And if I don't lose, then I just won't even do the twist deck. But if I do, then I'll try it at least once. So the only one I played as is the Demon Hunter, and I only have 5 that I can play, apparently, within whatever cards in your collection that you need to have to be able to use it. So, obviously, that would be fun to do as an overall format just to try. I should have almost just done that, or like I just tried to do all of them for this month, and every time I lose, I can't use that one again for the whole month, and then, obviously, it's going to be over. But some of these would be fun if you could do them on demand, right? These formats, but for some reason, they hate doing that. They hate letting you do stuff, you know, more dynamically. So this is... It kind of bugged out. Another minion is frozen, so we can just do this, first of all. Which, for the 1/1s, it might not actually have much impact at all. 4/6 with taunt is actually pretty much fine. But I'm just sort of tempted to do it anyway. 4/8 is pretty good. See, that in itself is fine. I mean, fuck it. I could even do it again. Or it even buffed it, and now I can do this. Death Rattle, Shuffle Copy, don't care. I mean, usually it's going to be a net positive like that, but sometimes you get fucked by your greed, and you'll get something that, you know, has pretty bad statting because it relies on an effect or something. On a battle cry that you're not getting. Right, like, more often than not, that actually does fuck you over, though. Like, as far as, you know, oh, you'll get something that's a 10 mana 5/5 that whatever... just relies on some good battle cry. Yeah, this one's almost doing too good, so now I'm not going to get a chance to try the other decks. Maybe the last episode of the month I'll just do those anyway, regardless of where we are with this one. This is fine, I guess. I mean, everything obviously exists within the gimmick of having to make a copy of itself. Or just mentioning either transforming or copying, which that 10 cost card technically doesn't do, but I'll make an exception for that because the principle is the same. It's just summoning 3 things that presumably cost a lot. They don't typically cost what the card that summons them does cost. Like, even the totem doesn't cost 2, even though the hero power costs 2. But like, you know, though they sometimes cost more. Like, I actually kind of want to play that just to see it. I want to play it for 2 reasons. One, to trigger the clown, which I don't even have. And I'm going to lose to this fucking bot as I'm talking all this shit even. But what you really need is a... See, the copies won't even help me, though, because I need a fucking taunt. Damn it. Doppelganger would be cute as well. Let me do this, and then I can always re-roll it. Like, this doesn't even matter. It just gave me an extra 7 cost to try to transform. Okay, there's the taunt that you're looking for. And then this one will be good as a heal as well. Mechithune would be interesting to try to actually get the win condition here. I don't know how I would do it. Here we go again. I see myself continuing my career, playing in tournaments when I can eventually be good at them all, whether I'm famous for it or not. Be a cold-blooded killer. That's the goal. Hoodie on, not to be effed with on the board. Okay, we should still be fine. This is kind of a fun card that you can make a whole gimmick around too. Kind of similar to my Astral Tiger shit that I would do with Druid, where I would try to either mill myself and have Malorn and only Astral Tiger and just keep doing it over and over and buff the Astral Tiger to a 10/10. Or not even buff it, but use a like Splinter Graft or somebody to make a 10/10 copy of it and then put that one in your deck so you'll keep getting it over and over. Daily dose of motivation. This is a little bit weird because something that costs 2 more. I mean, I can mostly clear his board, first of all. Right, this is a little bit disturbing. The main thing I just need is a taunt, and I don't have any AoE stuff. Right, so let me try this. That is a taunt. Okay, now we're kind of golden because this kind of play is what you really live for. Is just forget about how badass of a board that actually is, which in this day and age isn't as impressive, but just simply having the taunt, this is the kind of board that this deck is all about. Now I should try to force myself to win with the Mechithune condition, but I might not even be able to kill it. That's the problem. Right, like I'll get to that stage, but then they won't even have a way for me to trade in or something.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
I'm actually enjoying bullying bots, but that's what these bad decks can do. But I would rather it not be that way. Or like I always say I have to do it in such a way that I actually use up all my transformation effects before I win. So I'm only allowed to, oh, but I can do it right now because I can do it with the weapon. Like I could do this and then I could do it again and then I could still win the game. But normally that would leave me exposed, like with only 4 health. What if they top deck something because I won't be able to finish them off, right? You do the evolution effect and then it's like, okay, now I can win because I don't have any more that I can play, but I can't attack you right away with that. Right, with the fully evolved board. Very few of these things are going to have charge. Right, a lot of them will have rush, but like... What have I even seen that has had charge? Like probably only King Crush maybe once or twice. There's just such a fun pool of stuff to draw from now because obviously, you know, this kind of mechanic is more fun the longer the game has been out. Unlike most other things about card games where it does get fucked over by power creep and, you know, new mechanics like synchro summoning and Yu-Gi-Oh and shit. But what ends up being so fun here is every random effect is that much more random because you're sort of embracing the fact that, you know, you get stuff from any expansion in the history of the game, which is why I also hate these sort of standard formats just innately, because it's sort of a confession that even with the benefit of power creep, like, oh, you know, let's say you play in an unlimited sort of wild format, you're going to be more likely to use the newer cards anyway than anything older because they're just going to be better because they're power creeped out and that's their incentive to try to make you buy them and, you know, be excited about the new set. So innately they're going to have an advantage that would make you want to use them anyway. So why should you need to restrict, like, oh, you can't use the older cards because they'll be too overpowered, even though they're objectively worse and designed, the newer cards are designed to be better anyway. But then you'll come up with some sort of cool and fun and creative interaction between the newer cards and the older cards that makes them even better. Like, that's just acknowledging you're not making a very well-designed game, or you're sort of just churning out the cards and they're sort of bloated. So it's like you're doing the developers' work for them. Like, oh, let's just put ourselves within a pigeonhole of the newest stuff, which they are actively balancing, quote unquote, even though it's never balanced. And the best decks are always fucking, you know, something that's a little overpowered for now until they finally do nerf it. And then the next overpowered thing dominates the meta anyway. Like, you know, don't make any mistake that what's best at a particular time is not broken in some way. Like, that's the reason why it's the best. Fuck. So, you know, there's always some imbalance element like that. But then again, by the same token, you know, like people would say in any other game, everybody can use the same exact thing. So even if it's broken, you know, you can use it too. So how can you complain? Like when people said Mercy is overpowered in Overwatch. Yeah, but your team has a Mercy too. So who gives a fuck? Like, you know, it's not overpowered if both players get to use it, if everybody gets to use it. That's like the fallacy in chess of, you know, you basically feel like you're trying to say, well, it doesn't matter, it'll be even because both players have the same thing on the board. So it could be, it doesn't matter. Like, it's, you know, both players have a knight. So even if the knight sucks, you're still exposed to how bad it sucks too. Yeah, it's like maybe I should skip my magic session and just do this because fucking there's always this pressure to always do every series, though, at least on a weekly basis, because even if I'm not doing the daily quest, it's kind of like you get to you know, do the daily quest on like a weekly basis just to try to keep up with it that way. So there is some sort of psychological conditioning type thing that these games try to do, that every game almost tries to do now. Like if you log in every day, you get some sort of reward, or, you know, they try to get you to become addicted to it that way. Even daily quests and MMOs were like that. Like in WoW, you would want to try to log in to try to do that. Okay, I'll go till about 10:30 then, regardless whether we win or lose. But it seems like I'm never gonna lose with this, because then I have to do my actual Monday episode, which is Magic. But I definitely shouldn't play this much chess. Like, that's what ruined it yesterday, is that it's not like I didn't have time, but then instead I decided to do that shit. So let's do this first, I guess. This is not a bad one. But normally an actual real player who's not a fucking clown bot is going to keep clearing your board and trading in. And so therefore, you know, you're not going to get these kind of boards. That's the problem. That's why the Serenite Chain Gang and stuff like that is so good. Doppelgangster, but you have to survive the early game a little better, or, you know, none of this stuff is going to stick, and there's nothing you can even play on turns 1 and 2. Right, there's just 0 cards in the game that probably say, or at least that I could play a Shaman, that say, like, make a copy of itself or transform something, even itself, like that elf. You might say, oh, that doesn't even count, but it does, because it, you know, anything that says the word transform or copy in it, I'm going to allow, or at least when it works in the way that I, whatever, it still makes sense. In fact, this is one of the clearer criterias for these gimmick decks that I've ever had, where it's very much on the nose. Like, it specifically has to say that, otherwise it just doesn't. Otherwise I'm just not allowed to use it. So now I actually will lose, I guess. Right, so let me think. You can't even kill that, or you could trade in. Maybe I'd be better off doing that, though. Rather than transforming, I should just use this to clean up the board a little bit. Or I should have just hit that. Actually, I'm dumb. I'll just do this to try to see if we get something good. Or, again, you keep getting saved by taunts. And what a fucking perfect taunt, even with a lifesteal effect on it. I'm not getting punished too hard by transforming their stuff. Like, they could always get something crazy, too. Even if it's an underwhelming cost. That is such a perfect one to get. Abyssal Bassist. 2 less for each weapon you've equipped with this game. Yeah, like I'm saving my least favorite or least played classes for last. Even Death Knight that I played a certain amount when it came out, it was just because it was new, not because I really liked it. In fact, I hate the whole thing with the runes. It feels so contrived. You could turn every class into a spec by that token alone. Like, we're going to, you know, make a whatever, a Boomkin Druid, Elemental Shaman, all these kind of things, just limit what the cards that you can use even further. You're already limiting them between the classes, then you're limiting them between the specs, like the runes, effectively. Like, it's so stupid. I'd almost given up that I was gonna lose, but it's just I'm kind of blessed this last episode that I'm not allowed to lose the game no matter what. Even though, again, the decks I'm going against are pretty shitty, that shows you how bad what I'm using actually is, because now this one's going to die basically anyway, so go like this, we'll do that. Yeah, that basically fucking full healed me, and I am getting some of these same ones actually a lot, which is pretty unlikely. Like, I was even just praising how much variety there is to choose from in the game now, because, you know, at this stage it's going to be much more exciting. It sort of circumvents and uses it to your advantage, while otherwise people would call, you know, oh, this game has too many cards and card bloat and power creep, where there's 10 copies of the same basic card or mechanic that all do the same thing, but one is just better than the last because, you know, a 5-mana 6/6 instead of a 5/5 instead of a 4/4, that just all have the same effect, because now every expansion they run out of ideas and just do that. We can make the copies of it too, or maybe I could have actually won by my condition there too. Imagine if that thing's effect was like to, even when it dies, it still makes a copy of itself, so you'll never be able to stop it from doing that. I feel like there is something that's actually like that. When it takes damage, even if it doesn't survive damage, it still makes a copy, so you'll never be able to get rid of it. Yeah, taunt is the strongest, most sought after mechanic in this thing, just because it's going to save you from your own little clown behavior, like, or the clown deck design, that you're always going to be, there's no healing, there's no effects, there's no removal, there's nothing. It's just purely relying on your presence on the board, which in a case like this could be good, but what if they just have a good AoE? Like, if they just use Twisting Nether, I just fucking lose the game. Right, you got to develop a good board and then keep it, otherwise, you know, if you ever just lose the board, there's nothing you can do to recover it. Right, but you can keep making it better, I guess. Let's get them to 1. Oh shit, I fucked up actually. I should lose because of that alone. I meant to get them to 1 and then use the other effects that I had to use. Or actually, I don't have to use the copy effect. I just have to use the I I just have to use the evolve effects, anything that transforms something. I guess even Faceless Manipulator and stuff would count towards that. But yeah, any sort of transform effect, I should say that even if I'm winning, I have to play that all the way out till I have none left, and then I'm allowed to win. But if I feel like I'm going to lose, I don't have to do it then. It's just like an extra BM level challenge.
Der Zoo versus Gul'dan.
What is the meaning of this treachery?
Yeah, characters that actually have some history, but Gul'dan doesn't acknowledge it, but you know, I'll actually keep that for the potential evolve effect. I just have to wait till turn 6, which is going to be, again, a lot of these things are not very good value plays that assume and require you having too much stuff on the board. But no, like, I always love that in any game, like where in even League of Legends, a game that has its own internal lore, there'll be like these certain interactions that characters have, right? Voice lines to acknowledge that, oh, we know each other in universe and this and that. Which this game does a very good job of that overall, because there's so many of those interactions. And it's the kind of thing you can enjoy, even if like you're a free-to-play player and not a clown like me, at least now, where I have wasted so much money on a lot of these avatars. But you would still get to enjoy them because, you know, it's the variety that you're getting from the other side that you would see them, you get to make fun. Like, this guy might be a free-to-play player who's just using the base Gul'dan skin and doesn't have any other ones, but, you know, you get to see, like, oh, look at this clown who spent $25 or whatever for, like, the 3rd time on one of these animated heroes. Just so you can see his midriff thirst trap clown fucking abs moving in the wind here, because you can barely even see his staff or anything. Instead of getting the actual one that we deserved, like the Ner'zhul armor in the Frozen Throne, the true Lich King, not the clown fucking Arthas, who just kind of hijacks the namesake and everything.
Ah, Skullman's. Now that takes me back.
Yeah, what is going on? Are we just getting full-on bot treatment over here? Because I swear I always say that in maybe the middle of the month episodes, and then obviously at the beginning of the month you get destroyed because obviously you're playing against real players because everybody's just lumped in together. So the whole ranking system becomes meaningless because you're just kind of, you know, you're playing either a bot or somebody at a vastly different rank than you, and you can't even tell because let's look at some of their usernames. Olive Badger, Cyan Badger. Oh, that would even tell you too. At least that kind of is good to let you know. Right, it's pretty clear that they're all, you know, what are the chances that they would be called that? And of course the numbers in their names don't prove they're bots because everybody has numbers in their names, despite how stupid of a mechanic that is. So has the game completely been taken over and ruined by bots now, even in a way that it kind of had been before, but I think it's more so just to do with the rank. So like that means I can speedrun to fucking platinum and then we'll start seeing actual players. But then like what's the fucking point? Why not just, you know, just match me against somebody who is in platinum then? It doesn't matter. Like how does this make it more fair when you're just kind of cheesing on bots? Okay, I mean, unless I had gotten like an especially notable one there, I'm fine with keeping this. What is this? Oh yeah, I forgot that even existed. I should know all the elusive minions in the game like the back of my hand because of how much I love the mechanic, but there's got to be a format that just lets you use every class combined, even if you feel like that'd be busted. Or that should be a twist mode in itself. You can use cards from every single class together. So I would just use it to combine every elusive class card in addition to every elusive neutral card, which will probably still be more than 30. So then I'll use Renathal just for that reason. So like use one copy of each just for the maximum variety. That's why even in a gimmick sense, I don't even stay true to a gimmick in an optimal way. Like I could use 2 copies of one card that's better, but I'd rather use one of each just to flesh out the maximum amount of variety with the gimmick too. Because both would still apply to the gimmick. It's just I don't know. I feel like the Thrall hero power I actually don't enjoy that much. It's always the battle cry that I benefit from. The all the rest I don't really even care. I'll still do it, but like that's effectively the only de facto healing I have is just is the armor that you get from that, which is kind of silly. Here we go, dude. Divine Shield, Lifesteal. What the fuck, dude? These are both actually quite bad for their cost, but I mean, you're gonna have those moments where you get fucked over by it, and that's why the incentive, even not even as the win condition that I was talking about, where I have to play every effect like that, even just in the course of a game, right? Unless my board is really, really good and I'm comfortable with it, I still feel inclined to play the transformation effects just to play them, right? Even if you're not, even if you don't have to, and you could get fucked over, I still just want to do it just for the sake of it. No, Origami Dragon. No, I prefer the Origami Killer myself from fucking Heavy Rain. That's one of my biggest regrets in gaming history, is that I played, even this is good if you do it at the same cost, because, you know, it's still going to be better than the 2-2. Is that I saw people play Heavy Rain before playing it myself, so I never got to enjoy it fully, even though it's not perfect. But I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Oh shit! If they had just, if I had just played it like fully blind and just enjoyed it on that level, I guess I assumed I wouldn't play it or enjoy it. You know, it's just one of those games I wouldn't care about. But then, you know, you should never do that. So that's a great example of a game that spoilers would ruin. Even Red Dead Redemption, I guess I get spoiled on the ending, like some major event that happens, but you know, that's still more of a gameplay centric game that I would probably, you know, I've enjoyed anyway, just doing my bounty hunter shit with it. There really should be better protections against that, like on YouTube. You'll always see it like in a YouTube thumbnail. You'll be looking for something totally different, but you'll get it in your suggested, some major event spoiler that happens, you know. I mean, I guess we'll still do that, but I should have, fuck. Unless I had a way to like return it to my hand. We get clown, but not in the way I wanted, where I get to play the fucking 10 cost card and corrupt it like in my hand, that I actually do have this card in my deck because it's such a perfect interaction for this that maybe nobody's ever done before, because nobody fucking uses Evolve anymore. Even at the time, you wouldn't have had maybe all these cards still in the standard rotation. But that would have been a sick play, like a 10 mana Evolve, a board full of 9/9s, if you could have ever done that in standard. I'm not sure, actually. There must have been at least one card you could have used, but it would have had to be an AoE, not like one of these other ones. Even doing this isn't going to matter because, you know, there's going to be only so far that you can go with it. Right, like, and then it caps out at 13 because there is no 14 cost card in the game, I guess. You just keep getting this one over and over. So what I guess what it's actually doing is it is transforming them, but it's transforming them into one of the same cost. And I guess the only one up this cost is 13. So it would have been interesting to see that at other times in the game's history because, you know, like what other, maybe there would have been 2 13 cost cards or whatever, like 2 12 cost cards, and those would have been the highest. So it would have kept switching between the two instead of trying to go to a 13 because there is no 13. So let's say we were obligated to try every effect before I'm allowed to win. It's just going to be the same shit, you know, the whole time over and over. Which is still not even a bad thing because you use it effectively as a heal. Even though we're fucking playing bots, it still takes so long to do this. But no, it feels like this month either I should have just committed to the twist mode, or, because it is actually pretty interesting, or I should have tried to play more and just make a run. Like, we'll get to fucking legend with this fucking shit. Just because either this deck is actually good or I'm just getting matched up against bots very deceptively. I would almost want to do another one just to see whether we're getting another fucking Badger, but that is as good of a clear confirmation as you can see. Not that you can't tell that they're bots anyway, but you know, whether it be from the fucking gear card back that people speculate, or even the basic card back. But, you know, why couldn't it just be some new free-to-play player who happens to be using such a shitty deck, who happens to be using that? Now we could legally actually win the game because I have to use every effect, including the hero power has to factor into that, but I actually fucked up one of these games too where I meant to do that and I wasn't losing or anything, so I wouldn't have felt pressured to win, but somehow I just forgot and did my math wrong or something and I just killed them. I guess in a sense Hearthstone does kind of allow you to pre-move. Like, speaking of chess terms, you could just do, you know, attack with everything, and it takes so long because of the animations that it seems like you're doing it, you know, like all the interactions won't trigger, but your attacks would have already registered in the game. But sometimes that wouldn't even work because if you rope, it'll interrupt what you're actually doing. That was okay. I guess that's good enough because I'm not gonna have time climbing the ranks, fucking, which is not something you often see. So I would still have like what, 2 more tries, right? So between, I don't know. It is interesting to see that because I've rarely gotten that far with any of these gimmick decks because either I just don't play long enough or they're usually just so bad you get hard stuck at like silver 10. But maybe the only reason why that's the case is because of the simple fact that, and I obviously use some of these accounts just for some of these specific things, but it would be interesting to see that the only reason why is obviously because you're playing even a more inordinate number of bots than usual.